Bullet hell games are often very hard. It feels like you have to be all in on the genre, otherwise you get manhandled. Whenever I've had a bullet hell phase, I have been obsessed with the game for days on end. Nuclear Throne had me watching video essays and character tier lists while spam restarting cause it's very hard. Void Ego had me playing 30 hours in just a few days. That game hooked me so hard I somehow beat the hardest difficulty. Bullet hell games aren't chill, they are not cozy vibes. So when I actively play one, I have to be fully invested. This leads me to falling in and out of love with the genre as a whole, and I haven't been in love with it for a while. Until I got suggested a little game called ITTA. The game's screenshots reminded me strongly of Titan Souls and one of my favorite games of all time, Hyper Light Drifter. So I got the game with the impression that it would be a fun little boss rush bullet hell game with some cute pixel art. And holy shit was I surprised. You play as Ida, a young girl who wakes up in some sort of limbo, guided by a spirit cat that gives her a revolver. She must figure out what's going on and, more importantly, dodge some bullet hell. The art in this game absolutely blew me away. I was not expecting this game to incite the same feelings of first playing Hyper Light Drifter, but it also stands on its own 2 feet. The cutscenes that play throughout the game make you care about the story so much more. They just add a lot of depth in such a small amount of time. And speaking of small amounts of time, that is one of the biggest things the reviews point out. The game is short. You can beat it in 2.5 hours if you don't explore. I did almost everything there is to do and have 4.6 hours. However, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it tells the story it wants to tell and doesn't overstay its welcome or become tedious at any stage. The characters you meet along the way are surprisingly fleshed out for the short amount of time you spend with them. I genuinely started feeling bad for this poor man whenever his sheep died. There is a decent amount of lore to find around the world that allows you to understand the world and story a bit better, or you can just ignore that and go straight to the boss fights if you wish. There are 18 bosses throughout the game, all with vastly different and unique attack patterns, and every boss has some sort of phase shift when you get them half health, which keeps the longer fights more engaging. Some of these bosses were really creative, like look at this. A huge face comes out of the wall with its own health bar halfway through the fight. There is a wide variety of weapons to choose from that you find throughout the world. One of my favorites is this cannon. It's huge and feels like it packs a punch because it literally blasts you backwards, which can be either a detriment or you can lean into it and use the knockback to dodge or just as a little movement amongst dashes. There's this part where you let this weird fellow latch onto you, which gives you this cool new mechanic. When dodging projectiles, you fill up this bar, and when it's full, you become invincible for a few seconds, allowing you to get some free hits in. Also, for you Enter the Gungeon and Binding of Isaac heads out there, there are secrets. You find these little cat statues around the place with the sole purpose of changing the shape of your little cat companion. It's awesome. The game's story focuses on themes of struggle and perseverance, which I think is very fitting for it to be a bullet hell because it was pretty frustrating at times. The game has truly reignited my curiosity for more bullet hell games and gave me a satisfying story and experience reminiscent of Hyper Light Drifter. I think despite the short playtime, it is well worth the price. Overall, ITTA is a hugely underrated game. I was surprised it had so little reviews on Steam, so if any of this appeals to you, go check out the game and give the developer some love. They are working on a new game called We Kill Monsters that looks pretty cool. And if you have any bullet hell recommendations, leave them in the comments.